Greetings and welcome to Aspects of Aliyah. Rather than doing a teaching session today, this is more by way of an information broadcast. And it concerns a very pressing question that the ministry is faced with: who can make Aliyah? Not quite as obvious as you might think. The obvious answer is, a Jewish person. But unfortunately, we come down to that very fundamental question: what is a Jewish person? So the best way we can approach this rather contentious, on occasion, subject is to look at the law of return. So, essentially, Aliyah is immigration to Israel based on Israel's law of return of the year 1950. This is not only one, but the essential founding law of the State of Israel, which allows any Jew, child of a Jewish person, or a grandchild of a Jewish person to immigrate to Israel and receive Israeli citizenship. However, even though the statement seems fairly obvious, there's a bit more to it, because Aliyah is subject to law of return. So let's have a look at this, shall we? Okay, so law of return is a primary Israeli law passed by the Knesset, that's the governmental office, like the House of Parliament, the Senate, government, whatever you like, the supreme legislative body of Israel, passed by the Knesset on the 20th of Tammuz, which is the 5th of July, in our calendar, in 1950. It was published in Sefer HaHochaim, number 51, on the 21st of Tammuz, 5710, 5th of July 1950, on page 159, where the essential statements are made. This is available online if anybody wants to look at it. Amendments included in law return are amendment on 5714, which is 1954, passed by the Knesset on the 20th of Ab, 5714, which is the 23rd of August, and published in Sefer HaChachuim, number 163, on the 3rd of El, 5714, 1st September 1954, on page 174. And the Law of Return Amendment number 2, 5730, which is 1970, passed by Knesset on the 2nd of Adar Bet, 570, which is the 10th of March, 1970, published in Sefer HaChachunim, number 586, on the 8th of 11th Adar, 570, 19th of March, 1970. Okay, so I don't suppose that meant anything to anybody, but however, if any of you are watching want to help somebody, or you're watching and you're a Jewish person yourself, looking to assist you, which we'd be delighted to do, it's important to know this is a legislative thing. You can find all of these things on the law of return on the Israeli government website, but we need to say these things before we start. So let's just try and unpack this a little bit. The first article of law clearly, I want to say this again, clearly defines the right of every Jewish person to repatriate to Israel and consists of one phase only. This is one phase, and this is where all the problems arise. Every Jew has a right to immigrate to Israel. We're stuck with the question again, what is a Jew? We'll come to that later. As the document was being formed and discussed, two amendments were suggested. The first one was, a Jew living in the state of Israel may under no circumstances be expelled from the territory. Article 1 that states that every Jew has a right to be repatriated to Israel cannot be changed, even by a vote from the Knesset. So even if the Knesset got together today and tried to change that law, it can't be, because it's embedded in the constitution of the state.
Shalom, I'm Gary Cristofero, Vice President of Ezra International. You know, some of you have been calling in to Ezra International and asking, is the Aliyah still happening today? Well, I'm here to tell you, it's happening. Ezra International is helping over 500 Jewish people get home to Israel in each of the months since the war began in Israel. Listen, anti-Semitism is off the charts around the globe, and Jewish people are recognizing this, and they desire to go home, and we're there for them. We're going to help them get home to Israel regardless of the situation on the ground. But that too is in the hands of the Holy One of Israel. And Israel is still the safest place for a Jewish person. They desire to go home. We're here to help them make it home. God bless you. Thank you for helping. Go to EzraInternational.org today and give your best gift. Partner with God and help Jewish people get home.
Okay, so the first article is, every Jew has the right to immigrate to Israel. Yeah. In no circumstances can somebody who's qualified to live there can be expelled, although there are some exceptions later, which are like treason, but we'll get to that. And the article that says every Jew has the right to be repatriated cannot be changed, even by a vote of Parliament. That is probably the piece of strongest legislation I've come across. Article 2. To whom may be a repatriate visa issued? Very English and body, that, isn't it? Who can get a visa? A repatriate visa is a document that allows a person who has proven, note the word proven, their Jewish roots to enter Israel. The form is issued after passing the consular check. Americans and Europeans receive permission from the consul and the Israeli embassy in their country of origin, which is quite unique. So in America and here in the UK, maybe we don't have the problems of massive distances to be travelled to visit a consul, or somebody once put to me, the visa fella, or the visa guy. Okay. According to Article 2 of the right to return, the visa may be issued to any person who is Jewish and wants to move or repatriate themselves to Israel. However, exceptions are those persons who may pose a security threat to the citizens of Israel and the country as a whole. Only people who might be seen as a threat to Israel and its citizens can be exceptions to the law of return of Israel. Basically, that means a visa will be denied to all applicants for Israel citizenship and the right of return who have a criminal record. Now, this can be a matter of contention, but generally it's people who pose a threat. Now, that threat might not necessarily be international, it could be internal, but we haven't got time to discuss these things. As well as applicants who, during a medical examination, are found to have infectious diseases that pose a danger to public health. And of course, the AIDS thing became a big issue during this time. These are the return requirements, and they're extremely strictly upheld. Article 3 considers immigration once a person actually arrived in the country. The third article says any Jew can come to Israel and express a desire to settle there. In such a case, they are entitled to citizenship as long as they prove their Jewish identity. This was a big problem some years ago, not so much now as the checks are a lot more vigorous. Article 4. Who can claim the rights for repatriation? I've looked at this document several times, and as an academic, I've got to say, it's extremely well crafted, and I do understand the way it's being cast. The document gives an exceptional and clean definition. Let me say this again: exceptional and clean and clear definition of who can be considered to be, I don't really like the expression real Jew, but who is Jewish, shall we say, according to the laws of the state. Thus, this person who can be considered real or authentic or qualifying Jewish person, is a person born of a Jewish mother or a person who has undergone gayur, or conversion. An important note is that a person who cannot profess any other religion except Judaism. This is very important, particularly in Western Europe. So I'd like to just read this again. This is a person born of a Jewish mother, or a person who's undergone gayur, conversion. We'll come back to this a bit later because there are some slight difficulties there. An important note is that this person, if they're born of a Jewish mother or had undergone gayur, cannot profess any other religion except Judaism. So, if you're born of a Jewish mother, if you went under gayur, and then you decide you're going to be a born-again Christian, a Catholic, an atheist, a Hindu, or a Jain, your qualification is gone. This strict definition of belonging to the Jewish nationality has caused numerous misconceptions and criticisms about the categories of people eligible for this repatriation. For example, something the Wright is unreserved for halachic Jews, which of course it isn't. Then on the other hand, because you say you're Jewish, it's not like being in the Baptist church or the, I don't know, shall we just say Protestant church, where you stick your hand up to say, yes, yeah. The evangelical person goes, yes, I want to be a Christian, and become one immediately. No. To be a Jewish person, you have to go on a very rigorous and strenuous and demanding process. So it's really good to say this at this moment in time. However, the idea that is pushed quite strongly by the Orthodox in Israel is unless you're Orthodox, you can't come back. In fact, with some, unless you're ultra-Orthodox, you can't come back. None of these things. We'll look at this a bit later. There's a whole bunch of people who can go and people don't want them to go. And there's even more people who want to go, but they're not qualified to go. We'll come to this later. So, the Israel Law of Return Eligibility has a very clearly defined list of people eligible for automatic Israeli citizenship. Now, I don't want to be patronising here, but this is probably the key thing I'm going to speak about in this broadcast. Okay? List of people eligible. Number 1, direct descendants, that is, children born of A, Jewish mother, grandchildren of Jewish descent if the grandmother or even the great-grandmother is Jewish and proven to be so. Not rumour, not suggestion, no gaps. No gaps. Now, this is where the problem arises. No gaps. If great-granny was a member of the shul, if grand's a member of the shul, if mum's a member of the shul, no problems. If any of them are not registered or went distant, then we've got what problems? We can talk about this as we go along. Okay, people who've written Jewish or Jew in their nationality, yeah, is written on an official document. And again, this can be questionable. In addition, by the power of Israel and citizenship law of return, the possible repatriation is provided. This is important. Yeah. The possibility of repatriation is provided to the spouses and the children of the eligible people mentioned above. So, if little Sammy, 3 or 4, yeah, if his mum's Jewish, he can go. You don't have to go through the whole procedure. Now, it doesn't matter whether the holder of the right to repatriation is live or not. Children and spouses can still obtain Israel citizenship. So, for instance, I had a case of this just recently. Obviously, can't mention names, so I'll just give initial. Family L. Dad dies. Mum wasn't Jewish, but married in and undergone conversion. 3 children, so they can go. Not a problem. There were a lot of arguments ever since day one about making amendments. The Jewish right return defining the basic rules has been running over 70 years, but through this time it's not really changed. Despite enormous attempts to have it changed, it still remains.
Shalom, I'm Gary Cristofero, Vice President of Ezra International. You know, some of you have been calling in to Ezra International and asking, is the Aliyah still happening today? Well, I'm here to tell you, it's happening. Ezra International is helping over 500 Jewish people get home to Israel in each of the months since the war began in Israel. Listen, anti-Semitism is off the charts around the globe, and Jewish people are recognizing this, and they desire to go home, and we're there for them. We're going to help them get home to Israel regardless of the situation on the ground. But that too is in the hands of the Holy One of Israel, and Israel is still the safest place for a Jewish person. They desire to go home. We're here to help them make it home. God bless you. Thank you for helping. Go to EzraInternational.org today and give your best gift. Partner with God and help Jewish people get home.
Now, this concerns the question of DNA and Aliyah. In recent years, it's been suggested massively on social media that Aliyah may be granted by DNA evidence. So, I've looked at this very carefully, and if you want a very clear view on this, can I suggest there's a very good Israel immigration lawyer called Joshua Pex, P-E-X. You can look at his website. I've never met him, I've never spoken to him, but I've looked at these things and checked them out. So if you don't like what I'm saying today, and you still think some of your friends have got a reading for Aliyah, you can look them up. Okay, so the essential question is, can DNA testing make up for lost documentation to provide an acceptable Jewish heritage to make Aliyah? I'm going to say this again, it's very, very clear, because a lot of people coming forward on the end of this, even though they haven't got any provable ancestry. Can DNA testing make up for lost documentation? Will a DNA test result in sufficient evidence to qualify for Aliyah? Well, happily, the Israeli Ministry of the Interior has a detailed procedure regarding the documents an applicant for Aliyah is required to present in order to gain approval for their, I hate this word, immigration, repatriation. Now, we have a slight problem that those who don't have any documents prove their Jewish origins, yet prove family tradition, know, and I'm sorry to use this word, assume they are in fact Jewish. Now, in the early years of ministry, many Russian families lost all documents showing that they were Jewish during the Russian Civil War, early part of the 20th century, and particularly World War II and under the Soviet Iron Fist. Not only did many lose them, many destroyed them deliberately because of the disenfranchisement that came with it, not being allowed to reach senior ranks in the forces, being disbarred from universities, being disbarred from jobs. We spoke about these in our early broadcasts. So we know that many Jewish people don't have the documents, and others who have got parents and grandparents all over the world, in a sense, who lost documents, fleeing, from their country. It was a state of chaos. Now, with the recent biomedical and technological advancements, people are able to take a DNA test that will detail their genetic heritage. Oh dear, oh dear. Wouldn't that be great if it was a bit more exact? Oh, but yes, Dr. Frederick. Yeah. Yes, I have got Jewish heritage. It's in my DNA. Okay, but how much, when, where, and how, and etc. And the problem is, firstly, if you got it in your heritage, you don't know which side of the family it was on. Although mitochondrial DNA does actually designate on one side. There are even DNA tests now that will show if a person descended from Jewish priests, the Kohanim or even Levim. The potential is that DNA result can prove that you've got some Jewish mitochondrial or other sorts of DNA in your blood, but it does not grant the right to make Aliyah according to law of return. And in a sense, you can understand why. The Israeli law, the Israeli Ministry of the Interior procedures are inconsistent on this. This is very, very tight. Very tight. An Aliyah applicant is required to present documented proof of being Jewish or having Jewish ancestors within 2 generations. Those who don't have documents require strong testimonial evidence with a solid explanation, which can cover a whole mass of things. And through God's mercy and his patience and the long endurance and suffering of our workers, we've been able to find testimonies that have helped many people come, but some of them have taken years. There's one family that my dear friend Pat, who's our CEO, and myself worked on, and it took 9 years. 9 years. But this took massive amounts of research and massive testimonials. But not everybody can do this. We're fairly fortunate we could do that even after all this time. So, the thing is interesting. I want to say this clearly. Now the applicant is required to present documented proof of being Jewish or having Jewish ancestors within the last 2 generations. And that, of course, has to be on the female side, which makes it quite difficult. Now, the reason the DNA test is not accepted as evidence for Aliyah is in part due to the fact that the law of return excludes Jews who need to make Aliyah after having converted to another religion. The Israeli legislature assumes that if a person cannot bring documented evidence to show that he or she has Jewish origins according to law of return, is probably because their ancestors have left the Jewish religion several generations ago. Therefore, the genetic link, including Jewish roots, is not sufficient.